Black True Crime is a podcast that researches and discusses murders committed by Black offenders. It is a podcast that everyone and anyone is welcome to enjoy, but it's also a podcast that may not be welcomed by anyone and everyone. So listener discretion is advised. Now, without further ado, this is Black True Crime.
Into that good night.
Hey y'all! I am so excited. This is Kayla. You wouldn't know if it was me because you've never seen my face. But this is who is behind Black True Crime Podcast. Once again, I'm Kayla, and I'm really excited to be doing this because I wanted to find a way that I could kind of personalize this a little bit more, just so you guys can kind of get to know who I am and all of this. So today, I was supposed to put this video out last week, but I got my hair done for the first time in like so long, and my head hurts so bad, y'all. Like if you can relate to how long this takes and you know the process, it's a process. So I had to let my scalp breathe, and I really didn't do anything for like 48 hours. So now I'm back and I'm ready to get this shit going. Today's video is going to be about my experience in a cult. Yeah, something pretty, I would say, fucking heavy for the first time we're ever like talking to each other, face to screen, to face to camera, whatever this is. So I brought some liqueur to make this a little bit easier on all of us. Now, I will put this disclaimer out there. I'm not making this video to chastise anybody or make it about, I'm not doing this to come for the group that I was in. They obviously don't consider themselves to be a cult, and yes, they are still around. But from what I know, the research that I've done on this type of situation and topic, it's a cult. Okay, so we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna take a couple sips, and we're just gonna go through this process together. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of our first ever Patreon. See, with videos, you probably can't edit shit out, so I'm just gonna leave all my crap in. Yeah, this is our first Patreon content. At any level of donation, you can see this, so I'm really excited. Love you guys. And yeah, alrighty, let's get started. Disclaimer, it is 11:30 a.m. and that's how you know this is going to be a doozy, because yeah, I'm sipping on it. So I have my notes down here if you see me like glancing, just because it happened such a long time ago. I wanted to make sure I cover everything of my experience. All right, here we go. So when I was about 2 years old, my family left their family. So first, I was born in 1995. I'm 25 years old, and I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. I spent the first 2 years of my life, I believe, going to, because my family is like a religious family, I would say. My parents, they're very Christian. We were raised that way. My sister and I have a sister. She's 13 months younger than me. And that's just what we knew. We knew Christianity. We knew to love God. And, like, that was it. Obviously, I'm 2 years old, so I don't really know everything and remember, how Bible thumping or not they were. But I just know we were in church. And my dad's family had a church that for generations and generations kind of was in the family. So that's the church we went to for a while. But once I was 2, something happened with the family, and my parents kind of just like cut ties because they were not being as supportive as you want a family to be. That's a story for another motherfucking time. But yeah, so my parents left when I was like 1 or 2, and my sister was a brand new baby, spank brand new. And then my parents, they were only like, what, 22 and 23. They were very, very young. So once they left, they happened upon, I don't know how they found this group, but they happened upon a group. And at the time, I think it was called like the just David Taylor Ministries or something like that. But now it's called Joshua Media Ministries, I believe. And my parents jumped right in. It's headed by a guy, a real light-skinned yellow fella. And I specifically remember it like very, very vividly. He would always wear white suits, you guys, like decked out in white suits that look incredibly expensive. Like it looked like it was made out of a baby, like I want to say goat's like fur. It was so soft. Look at me, I'm recording myself because I remember it. So it would be like the softest suits ever. And I'm like, wow, wow. So he was a very charismatic man. And that's what you always hear about these types of guys. They're charismatic and all this type of stuff. But he really, really was. He made it seem like he genuinely had a heart for God, that everything that he was doing was because, it was under God's direction, that he had this one-on-one, personal, hands-on relationship that no one else really was able to have with God. So hearing that and being so young and stuff and not really having any other outside experience when it comes to like religion and stuff, that sounds amazing. It sounds like, yes, that's something I want to jump into. I would fit in perfectly. It fits my belief system, all that good stuff, right? Well, after let's just say, I can't speak to my parents' experience. I don't know when they started to see red flags or what was going on, but as I started to grow up in it, I noticed that I wasn't spending a lot of time in school. So I started going to school in pre-K, like how some people start in that pre-K weird stage. That's when I started. So I was like maybe like 3 or 4, and I was noticing that I was not going to school a lot. Like I would miss a lot of school, and it was because we were traveling so much. So while we were traveling was because he was doing crusades. Now crusades were, when I think of it, takes me back to Christianity. Back, when they were literally going around to cities, and if you didn't convert to Christianity, they would kill you, and that's what the Crusades were. But the Crusades in this time, and this is like maybe like, late 1990s, early 2000s, he was going to different cities, posted up in a hotel in their conference room, and he would have like a huge service, and it would go for like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, you guys, late as hell, and people are just there getting prayed for, listening to the word that this man had to preach, just basically, and at the end of it, just gave their money. It was more about telling people that you could heal them and God could heal them, but putting the most emphasis on tithe and offering and giving your money and doing everything you can in that way. So that's what my parents did, obviously. And being so young like they were, they didn't have a lot, so it became to a point where we were living with other people. We were living with people that were in the ministry. We never really, so one time we were like, I remember, my parents wouldn't agree with this, but I specifically remember us sleeping in our car one night, okay? And that was just like one night that I remember us having to do that. But yeah, it was just a really shitty, like confusing situation, because you want to do right, you want to love God, and sometimes there's trials and tribulations when it comes to following God, and that's how what Christianity teaches. But some things are not a part of the journey, trust. One of those things being domestic violence. So again, this is my personal experience, my memory from being a young girl. I was in this situation from about 2 years old to about 8 years old. So yes, there are things that I definitely remember. And I do remember this leader speaking with the men of the ministry, and that's what we considered the people that were immediate members, the people that would travel with us, take care of all that type of stuff. We were called the ministry. So he would gather the men of the ministry, and he would basically tell them how to keep their women in check. So like if your woman spoke out of turn too much or felt like she wore the pants or anything like that. He would teach you like, that's not how it is. That's not how it ever will be. And if she thinks that, this is what you need to do to make sure she doesn't think that. And I specifically remember like a backhand motion like this. Like, yeah, it was, at the time I didn't really understand it. Like at the time, because I got spankings, you know, as I was growing up. So I was just like, oh, it's just a spanking, right? Whatever. But lo and behold, that's not okay. And that's not what you should be doing to your wife, out of all people. So yeah, that was really, really, it was really, really sketchy at times. He has children. They were really, really close to us. I remember just awkward moments. I remember, you know, fear. I do remember fear a lot. Sometimes my parents, when they would have to travel and go out of town, they wouldn't take us because as we got older and we were missing so much school, like it was not, we couldn't keep doing that. Legally, we couldn't keep doing that. So my parents would leave us with like people that were a part of the ministry and they would watch us and stuff. And I just remember being so like sad and just wanting my parents so bad because half the time when the ministry people watched us, their kids would take all of our things, and you know, it's just like, it was one of those moments where you're just like, I don't want to share anything. I want to be with my parents. I don't want anyone else here, and that's just what it is. So there was a lot of that growing up, but yeah, so I don't really know all the details about my parents' experience. Maybe one day I'll be able to sit them down and actually get them on here to tell what they experienced. But yeah, that was my brief little rundown of my experience in that situation. I don't want to say too much because they are the type to sue you for any and everything you ever say about them. So I don't want to go into too much detail, especially since I don't have a lawyer yet. The podcast doesn't have a lawyer yet, which is coming. But yeah, so when I was 8 years old, I was really, really happy that we decided to leave. It was something that should have been happened because it was such a dark time that we were in being there. So yeah, there was a lot of arguing. My parents argued so much fighting, strife, just a lot of shit that I don't think we would have seen or had to see if we weren't in that situation. So yes, thank you for listening to my very brief rundown of my very brief experience in a shitty cult that is still going on today. One day I will be able to unload more, and hopefully with, like I said, in the company of my parents, the people that actually like had a part to play and, you know, had to heal from the situation. Because yeah, of course I had to do some healing. Yeah, but they probably had to do a lot more because they were like older and just more affected. So thank you guys once again. This is Kayla. This is Black True Crime Patreon content, and I can't wait to start making more. Tell me if you guys want more videos about my life or me talking or my experiences, because I actually am going to do a video. My next video is going to be about how my cousin was murdered, and it was a murder for hire plot. Pretty sure you guys want to hear about that. So yes, that will be coming. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, thank you guys for listening. I didn't really drink much because I talked your head off, but appreciate the love, appreciate the time that you spent with me here, and I will see you next time.